Welcome to Flyover Conservative Podcast with David and Stacy Whited, where we break down current events and examine culture through the lens of conservative Christian values.
Today on the Flyover Conservative Podcast, we have a man that has become not only a friend of Stacy and I, but he's become a friend of the show. He's somebody that we lean on for insights. He does about as much research as anyone that I know, and there's nobody cut exactly from the same cloth that understands charts, markets, finances, runs it through a lens of biblical prophecy, and says, hey, here are big dates in time that are happening. You need to be aware of. The one, the only, Bo Polny.
Yay!
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, David. God bless both of you and your family. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. You're always a highlight for us. We love doing the shows with you.
Listeners love it. People hang on what you say. And the thing is, more than about anyone that I've ever known, there's this track record of hey, this is a big date in time. Your kind of tagline is an analyst of time. I don't know, that was a career path they had when I was in high school and I met with my guidance counselor. They're like, you can be a fireman, a policeman, you can be an analyst of time. They didn't have that on the category list, but you chose that anyway, kind of created your own field. And when you analyze time, you see these trends that go back thousands of years and say, and it's like, bam, row weight, overturn, bam, this happened. And like, you don't get hung up in the sauce of exactly, calling your shot on each thing. But there's some dates that are so big and so monumental that you can tell God's at work. You can tell something is going to happen, and they lay out, and they always do. And we're in the middle of your biggest, predictions of all time. The stuff we started talking about last week in Nashville, and the stuff that God's been giving you, and the way it ties in with prophecy and your time charts. It's unbelievable.
No, you're exactly right. The timing of events is crazy. Do I get everything right 100%? Absolutely not. It's not possible, right? Because the only perfect one is God, period, right? Son, Jesus Christ. My point is, but some of the forecasts, some of the cycle time points that we get blow my mind. Mm-hmm. Like to know that, that an event's going to happen in the year 2020 on April 20th. And sure enough, that oil goes to negative $38 a barrel. That was forecast 3 months in advance, right?
Wow.
Then we also knew September 17th or September 18th was going to be a huge day in 2020, only to find out Ginsburg died, right? Mm-hmm. And then February of 2020, only to say, that the markets are going to crash in the month of March, to have it happen exactly like that, right? Mm-hmm. And all of these calculations were what? Out of the Bible. Okay, I took calculations from the Bible and applied them onto present day. And when I say present day, I mean like in the Bible, that which has been will be again. So you look at in the scriptures, right? It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so from when oil went to zero, 40 days and 40 nights, George Floyd riots. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? On that exact day,
on the
second seal on that day. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And on that day, that was a second seal of Revelation opened. Okay. Peace was taken from the earth. It happened to be Pentecost. Seals open on feasts. So, the first seal opened was Corona. It happened on Hanukkah. And so it's incredible. But when a seal opens, and this, again, what I do, what is Revelation, right? It's a portrait. We're getting revealed information. Yeah. So every time I'm on with you, I get more revelation. So I got some slides today that blew my mind, but I just put them together in the past 3 days, and I was up till 3 a.m. working on this stuff because when it gets me, I can't stop doing it. I got to keep going. I keep going until it's as best as I can put it together. But as I make the slides, more revelation comes out. So all I'm saying is that we are at an incredible time point, and this is literally based on Hitler, on Esther, on Haman, Purim, eclipses. Like, I don't know how to better describe all this, but God creates what? The end from the beginning.
Yep.
And so these important time points that end up happening, we're not doing numerology. We're literally taking, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The water kept rising for 150 days, and boom, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies in that cycle. So it's incredible how that which has been will be again. And so all we're waiting for now is we've got the first seals opened, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. Corona, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a worldwide phenomenon.
Yep.
The second seal opened, Pentecost, George Floyd riots, peace was taken from the earth. What happened? Riots have rotated around the world, all over the world, ever since that exact day. And so what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the greatest financial event, the greatest wealth transfer in human history.
Woo.
Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, for the church. So why haven't we seen that happen yet? Well, because we haven't, first off, seen the fulfillment of the third seal manifesting of Revelation. When that event happens, it will be a worldwide phenomenon. It'll be all over the world. Gold and silver, Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord, will become the money of choice, the new monetary system around the world. Not like in the United States. No. Around the world, the fiat money system will break, because what is the third horse? The third seal. It's a black horse, and its rider has scales in his hands. So what does that mean? Well, black represents the angel. The revelation I received is the angel of death. So as much as we're looking forward to things changing, it's going to be coupled with immense deaths across the globe. Particularly, probably in one specific day is when this all going to start. My best guess right now would be in the month of April is when this is going to go down. So we'll see, but April directly correlates with Passover and what happened to Pharaoh, the angel of death visiting Pharaoh, Egypt, killing Pharaoh's firstborn, and all of Egypt's firstborn, including the beasts. So we're at this point in time where everything's coming together, but the third seal has not manifest. So it's a black horse represents death, but the rider's got scales in his hand. So what does that mean? Well, go back to the last time in the Bible, right? The writing on the wall. Mene, mene, tekel, upsharsim. You have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Why? Because at that time they were mocking God. Belshazzar mocked. They drank out of the golden chalices, mocking God, and the writing on the wall appeared. Belshazzar freaks out, calls up Daniel. Daniel does the interpretation. What's the interpretation? You've been weighed in the balances and found wanting, meaning the financial system is just completely messed up. Your kingdom has come to an end and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. And that night, Belshazzar died. Darius came in, took over Babylon, and prophecy was fulfilled within 24 hours.
Wow.
All of it happened suddenly. So why hasn't it happened? Because when God the Father moves, when Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit make this event manifest, it'll be a worldwide phenomenon, number one. It's going to happen on a feast. Okay? We know that because the first and the second seals opened on feasts, which means that the third seal manifestation will be on a feast, including later on the fourth seal. So the seal's so when's the next manifestation? When is the next feast? Well, Purim, March, and specifically Passover in April. Okay, so the third seal is going to manifest. When it manifests, it's going to be horrible for some and incredible for others. And that's how this is going to play out. God is a loving God. He's created you, me, the viewers, right? Even the evil ones he loves, right? As much as God loved Pharaoh and Fauci and all these other ones, all these present day pharaohs, however, they dug in their heels and they chose to not turn from their wicked ways. And so now this is the crazy part. The evil ones of today, they don't realize who their enemy is. It's not us. Oh, no, it's not us. Their enemy is the Creator.
Yep.
Their enemy right now, God gave them 2 years to turn from their wicked ways. They've chose to dig in their heels, not turn from their wicked ways. And now their enemy is God. Their enemy, they don't even realize who they've pinned themselves up against. This is going to be crazy what's about to go down. But we know specifically, right? God the Father will not be mocked. What does Galatians 6 verse 7 say? Be not deceived. God is not mocked, for whatever a man soweth, thus shall he reap. So I think that's probably a great place to start this whole talk.
This is incredible, Bo.
But I want to make sure people that are listening on audio only, if you're on the radio, if you're on Apple or Spotify, Podbean, one of these places, you can send a text to 40509, the word Bo, 40509, the word Bo, and you can have access to these slides. They'll come in a Dropbox download. And then if you have access to the screen, Bo also has a QR code.
You're going to click on page 2.
Yeah, it'll send you to his website. Now, if you're just listening, you can go to gold2020forecast.com. It kind of gets you into Bo's world. I don't want to speak out of school here or anything, but Bo's used these systems. He's followed to track time to create his own wealth. He's on here as a gift to be able to make this information available to the body of Christ. And so we feel very blessed and grateful for that. And he just kind of puts it out there and makes it available. This is what he does. He even has places where you can go and look at his charts, and he gives information. And hey, here's what I'm looking at when it comes to cryptocurrencies and different things like that. But if you follow the QR code on the screen, it gets you over into his world. If you want a copy of these charts, you can text 40509 and just text the word Bo, and you can get access to all that. Use promo code Flyover, and he gives you guys all a big discount if you want access to his charts and things as well. So we thank you for all of that and making this stuff available. And God's gifted you in a unique way. It's like everybody, people we work with, a lot of them, different doctors, different people. You're uniquely gifted for seeing what's happening with this transference of wealth, which is going to cripple the enemy's plans.
And your relationship with the Lord, you say the last few days he's given you downloads, and we're really excited to hear what he's been saying about dates that are coming up and things that are going to be happening. It's exciting, but prophetically, those are things that we're hearing. Kent Christmas has been talking about the death angel in 2023. Those are things that he's been also sharing. But Amanda Grace was talking about separation of the wheat from the chaff. That's also been talked about by Robin Bullock. Those are big words that are coming out of them and what's happening in 2023. And that's exactly what you're saying right here.
And that's the point, right? Because the truth is in 2 or 3 witnesses. So it's so important to understand that I can say X, Y, and Z, but if there's no witness to what I'm saying, right, then there's no strength to it. And is it the truth would be the big question, right?
Right.
But if I can give this presentation and I can give scriptural reference to it as being one of the proofs, okay, one of the witnesses, and then you've got Robin Bullock, Kent Christmas, Amanda Grace, overlaying witness upon witness upon witness. That's the point, right? So everything in this presentation is witness upon witness upon witness. It's not one witness. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 witnesses to this truth that we are speaking about. And that is how you know it comes from the same source, from God the Father, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. So that's a great point. And thank you for bringing that up, because it's so critically important to understand how all this plays out. And God, yes, I don't know. I didn't know why I do what I do. He called me out. He gave me the name of the analyst of time. I'm like, hey, that makes sense. Because what do? I study the timelines in the Bible, overlay them on present day, and then I blow my mind. Because I'm like, how does this stuff happen? How does it happen? Every day, like, how does this happen? I don't get it, but I know how it happens, because God he writes the end from the beginning. You don't believe me? Go read Daniel 2. Every single kingdom that has existed, that is described by Daniel 2,500 years ago, every one of those kingdoms have come to pass. The only part that we are missing, and this directly correlates with third seal, okay? The only part that's missing is Daniel 2, verse 34. And listen to the words closely. And a stone carved out by no human hand. What does that mean? It means man doesn't do it. A stone carved out by no human hand, meaning God intervenes in this evil satanic system, this Babylonian system, and he destroys the statue of Babylon. And how does he destroy the statue of Babylon? It's very simple. How do they build Babylon? With the money. With the money. So we're talking early before the pre-show. The point is the money allows the bribes and the payoffs. And so the whole world is based on bribes and payoffs.
Yeah.
They create money out of thin air. They pay everybody off. And if that doesn't work, they basically will blackmail you. But if not, they'll just pay you more money, right? They just keep creating more money because that's what they've done. We're in the trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars now. And so that's enough to basically buy and pay off the world. And so that's what they've been doing. And so God knows that. The stock market could crash 1,000 times. I don't care. I'm going to repeat. I don't care about the stock market. What I'm watching closely is the collapse of the US dollar. When the dollar collapses, that will mark the collapse of Babylon. Why? Because the bribes will no longer work. If someone was being paid $1 million or $10 million or $50 million as hush money, then the dollar crashes. Unfortunately, the hush money ain't working anymore, and they're going to want real assets. What's that? Haggai 2, verse 8, the silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. They're going to want cryptocurrencies, honest ledger, because you can't hide the transactions. So gold and silver cryptocurrencies are going to go insane when Babylon falls. Period. Because the world's now, and so to keep the hush money is going to now, the people to keep everybody hushed, they're going to want real assets, paintings, they're going to want gold and silver, cryptocurrencies. They're going to want real assets that cannot be created out of thin air, because the whole financial system has been created out of thin air. It's an absolute fraud. And where were all the deals done? In the dark. Where does Satan operate? In the dark. The bribes are to keep things that are done in dark secret, right? When the bribes don't work anymore, then the secrets come out. And and what is a secret? It's the light. It's the truth. What does the Bible say about the truth? The truth will what?
Set you free.
Bingo. And what's about to happen in 2023? The truth will set us free. That is what's about to happen. Yep. There you go. And how does that? It's all coincidence. There's no coincidence, but it's 2020 free.
Yep.
We're going to be set free. And so this is how it's all playing out. So if we can start off on slide 1. So this is like some of the newer revelation that I've just received. So we are what's happening right in front of us right now is directly related. One of the cycles is directly related to Hitler. Well, how does that happen? Okay, well, let me explain. Today is January 31. Yesterday is the 90-year anniversary of when Hitler came to power. Yesterday. So we are at 90 years from when Hitler came to power. This is insane, but this is what's happening. Now, this is the crazy part about how God planned the end from the beginning, because this doesn't happen. I went forwards and backwards in time, and it never happens. Purim never lands consecutively on an eclipse. But it did.
Wow.
It did at the time of Hitler. So before he came to power, Hitler came to power on January 30th of 1933. The eclipse and the Purim right before that was on March 22nd, and it was an eclipse. And then once he's in power, the first Purim again comes on an eclipse. And that was March 12th of 1933. So the two eclipses on Purim marked the birth, of the evil system of Hitler, and he came to power. Now, it's really interesting how all this plays out, because if you go to page 7, I'm not sure if you and your viewers understand, but the importance of 322. So 322 is the skull and bones number. So all the global elite, all the ones at Davos, they all pledge allegiance, especially for the third Masons of 33 degree, they pledge allegiance to the skull. Okay. And that skull, basically called the skull and bones, and it's their number for whatever reason is 322. So why Why did a movie come out, Olympus, which is, the United States, right? The Olympus has fallen. It came out on March 22nd of 2013 on the exact day. If
Mm,
you do the research on the skull and bones, all of it relates to 322, 322. So it's interesting that if you go back to the first slide, Purim, the very first one, just happened to occur on 322, the skull and bones number.
interesting.
So it's just, and it happened to be Purim, and that started these crazy events that are going
Okay.
down. So now if we go to page 3, so this is like the revelation that I've just got. So if we look at Purim, so Purim, the fact that Purim lands on an eclipse, it never happens. But when it happens, it's got to be of God, meaning it's a marker. And so what's basically happening right now is as of yesterday, we're 90 years from when Hitler took power. Then we've got an eclipse coming on April 20th. We've got 3 in a row. So the year 2025, 2026, and 2027, 2025, 2024, 25, and 26. So the next 3 years are actually the Purims occurring exactly on a eclipse. So
Mhm.
David or Stacy, what happened at Purim? What happened? Tell us the story. Tell me the story. Give the audience an understanding of what happened at Purim.
Good.
With
It's the story of
Esther,
Esther and
with
let's
Haman.
start with
Haman, with
Remember
Esther.
Haman
Haman? So
that got
discuss what happened to Haman
hung
in
on
his
his own
plan.
gallows.
Hmm.
Yes.
If I remember the story, accurately, he was. I don't want to mess this up. Go ahead. I got it. I got
Okay,
it.
so
I got it close enough. We've done shows on it, but go ahead. I don't want to
So
mislead the
in
listeners.
essence, so the point being was that Haman built 10 gallows because he hated the Jews. He wanted to kill the Jews.
Hmm.
And one of them was Mordecai. He wanted them all
Mhm.
hung and he wanted to kill all the Jews. Esther prayed, they fasted. The point being is at the end of the day, God, it was all pre-planned because the 10 gallows that were built for the Jews end up being for Haman and his brother and his sons. So 10 Haman, including his sons, all hung on the gallows.
Man.
It's interesting because in World War One, at the end of that, we're talking Hitler, right? So those that worked for Hitler, 11 were put to the gallows. 1 committed suicide with cyanide. So that again, 10 hung on the gallows. And then when you read Revelation, the 10 kings of the earth give their power to Antichrist. So all of this is rolling around the Purim time window. And so all I'm saying is this is what I wrote here, just to be very clear so we can get to it.
Yep.
Beginning in April of 2023, to this April, God's glory is expected to manifest. Why? Because it's feast, right? Passover, and continue for the next 3.5 years into the end of 2026, putting events of end times on hold as God brings vengeance to those who mocked him. Bringing in 2020, beginning this year, 2023, the next 3.5 years is harvest. Therefore, because we have 3 consecutive eclipses on Purim, which never
Hmm.
happens. So therefore we should expect the Haman effect for the next 3 years. And so therefore, those many like Haman are going to hang. And so don't be surprised that we're literally going to see military hangings here, maybe this year or next, but whatever, the next 3 years. This is going to be biblical how this all plays out. And it's directly related to Esther and and Haman and Purim. All of this is lining up right now. And we go to the next page. We talk about timeline, right? So if we're looking at the next page here on page 4, you've got January 20th through the 30th. So this was
Okay.
like all these crazy things are happening in the world right now based on timeline. And I've talked on your show as well, we talked about January 24th, 124. Well, guess what happened? The doomsday clock was updated on 124.
Wow.
So you want to talk, so how did that happen? But it did. So my point is, studying timelines and the number patterns, they updated the doomsday clock On January 24th, 124, we said something's going to happen on that date.
Yep.
On the 24th.
On the 24th.
Make sure I'm grabbing the point right as well, as far as the hangings, the gallows, these things. You tied that in earlier with a shift in currency because you can no longer pay the bribes, and we
Yes.
know it's a what kind of a show Sean Hannity leads with on Fox has much to do with who his sponsors are, which is all kind of a form of all that happening. We're seeing things daily with Biden's records and documents, and they're tying to bribe money that's flowed through his son. There's this corrupt underbelly of finances with Nancy Pelosi and insider trading. Like Joe Rogan's done whole shows on it. The money is the corruptness that allows all of that to happen. Like you said, it happens in dark under the table. So with that currency shift and the money that they're using to make that happen, when that becomes devalued, when we're probably going to get more into the BRICS nations, and you see what's happening there, even as recent as over the last week, when that dollar is attacked, all of a sudden people don't have the ability to pay off the silence, and then things become more public. Then the accountability begins.
Exactly. If you're the one accepting the bribes, as an example, right? You're not going to want the dollar as payment to keep your bribe, to keep your hush continue. So you're going to want payment in something of value. So you're going to want, you say, pay me in cryptos, pay me in gold, pay me in silver, pay me in something that is a value that I want, right? And so people, we here in the United States, we've never seen a currency collapse, right? Because the United States dollar has been around for how long? But other countries like Europe and stuff have seen what happens when their national currency suddenly devalues. And so we've never witnessed this. So most people in the United States don't get what we're talking about. But go study the history of money, and you'll come to understand the United States is the one currency that stood the longest test of time. But this is the problem, right? If you read Revelation, the world has become Babylon, the world has become drunk with Babylon, right? And what does that mean? It means the world become drunk with the money.
Yep.
The money is how the world became drunk, and so now the world is drunk with the money. And they're all hypnotized by it. And when God intervenes, it's the flipping of the tables. Everything you thought was normal that we grew up with suddenly changes.
Right.
And the money supply, and the money's how they did it. That saying, how'd that happen? Follow the money.
Yeah.
That saying came from somewhere.
Right. Now, are you saying also, Bo, that are there going to be an eclipse around Purim again in 2023 through 2026?
So what's happening specifically with the eclipses, it's rather interesting because what's happening is there is an eclipse in April 20th, right after Passover.
Okay.
So right after Passover, there's a full eclipse. There's a solar eclipse right after Passover, like 6 or 7 days after Passover. And then this is the interesting one. So in the year 2024, next year, the year 2025, and the year 2026, the Purim is on eclipses for the next 3 years consecutive.
Just like when Hitler was in there in 1932, 1933.
Right. And so you can go back and study and analyze, what Purim landing on eclipses, it doesn't happen. And then if it does happen, the fact that it happens consecutively, and we've known that specifically, that we've talked about the Red Sea miracle that's coming, right? We've talked about Haman, Purim and Haman. So other prophets have spoken about this. This is not me making this up. No. Other prophets have referenced and made reference to this directly. So my point is, and now we come to realize how important Purim really is, because basically the Haman effect means for the next 3.5 years, what Haman planned for the church is coming to the Hamans of this world.
Yeah. Wow.
So for the next 3.5 years, we're going to have the Haman effect of these people falling and collapsing and just literally destruction of everything that they have built. So that's what's coming. And, we've talked about the 7 hills, right? The 7 hills start collapsing, and again, it all comes down to the first domino. That first domino is the collapse of the dollar, the BRICS nations.
Got it.
So, if you go on page 4, now that everything's happened, so we're at 90 years from Hitler coming to power. We're at 50 years. Roe v. Wade was on January 22nd. Okay.
Yep.
So now thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land. So we're at 50 years for the Jubilee. So we're at all these cycles of time have now come together. And so we're just waiting for a moment in time for things to start to shift. So looking at the patterns, we could see something happen as early as late this week into early next week. That could be the first starting point. Why?
Wow.
Because so many things have happened already. Now, I don't know what could happen or where will it happen. I'm just saying charts are pointing that we could see something triggering here with precious metals, maybe cryptocurrencies as well, moving aggressively starting somewhere in the first week of February. So we'll watch, okay? But ultimately, that takes us into the next slide here on page 5. And it all comes down to this first part of the third seal. The third seal specifically is that horse with the scales in his hands. So we go to the following page, page 6. The page 5 has just too much details to get into right now. But page 6 talks about Isaiah 61. And so Jesus Christ, the last time I was on your show, I think we played the clip, but
Yep.
Jesus Christ did not read the last line of Isaiah 61, where it says, stated the day of vengeance of our God, specifically because it wasn't time. But interesting, right? So think about this. So we've got the Purim cycle prophecy for the next 3.5 years of the Haman effect for 3.5 years on those that went against God. When Jesus Christ read Isaiah 61, he was the glory.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Jubilee. What is the Jubilee? It's the 50-year start of the 50-year cycle. It's for the next. So he was the Jubilee for 3.5 years, and then he died on the cross, only to be resurrected on the third day. So how insane is this? But Christ had a ministry for 3.5 years. The Haman effect is 3.5 years starting now. Confirmed with the eclipses on Purim starting now, and then specifically 2024, 2025, and 2026. And there is your 3.5 years of glory on the earth.
Wow.
That's how this is going to play out.
And I think all the people of the earth, really, even the earth itself, almost feels like it's crying out for justice.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Amen.
your two people are very tired of seeing just blatant crimes,
Yep.
criminal activity, and injustice take place and being flaunted. It's not done in secret; it's actually being flaunted. Sin is being flaunted, and I think people are crying out for that. And so that will change the.
And what is the worst? And just to interrupt, but what is the worst thing you could do to God? Destroy his creation, particularly his children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look what they're doing to the kids now. They're going after the kids, right?
They are.
Gender affirmation, all that stuff, and forget, abortion is already overturned, but now they're gender affirmation, like they're not quitting, right? So the point is, that is like the most heinous thing you can do in God's eyes is go after the children. And so this is where we're at, this incredible, powerful time point. And so now that leads us, so we've talked about, as February's beginning here, we're March, Purim, and now this is important. If you go to page 7, so we've talked about 322. I'm telling you, there's an agenda potentially planned for 322. And it's interesting because if you go to page 8, okay, so from when Hitler took power on March 22nd of 1933, on page 8, what happened was, shortly thereafter, on March 22nd, the first concentration camp of 1933.
Man.
The first concentration camp opened up on Skull and Bones 3/22/1933. This March 22nd, this coming March 22nd, is the 90-year anniversary. I'm telling you, there's something planned. The reason being is because this is literally a clash of the titans. This is Satan versus God.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we know this is going to end. You know, we know God wins, right? But this is going to be a massive event that's about to go down. Page 9 talks specifically about third seal manifesting. So we're about to see the crash of the dollar because Babylon's about to go down. Page 10 specifically talks about third seal. There is your horse, black horse with the scales in his hands. Page 11 is the wealth transfer that's about to happen, the greatest financial event in human history. Again, Proverbs 13:22, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. And you earlier mentioned Kent Christmas. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
He specifically stated the angel of death is now on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the earth, the angel of death, the one that killed
Mhm.
Pharaoh's firstborn and the firstborn of all of Egypt. And so that takes us into this important page here, slide 13, because slide 13 is Passover, and that's April 13th. This is the last day of Passover. So this would be the day that the angel of death showed up to Pharaoh.
Mm.
Does it happen this year again like this? I don't know. I'm telling you, it's a feast, and the third seal is about to open. And it's really close that this is about to go down. So no one knows exact day hour this is going to go down, but we are literally at a very, very powerful time point because a massive feast is coming. And so that takes me to the BRICS nations on page 21. Actually, page 20, right? You cannot sell the US dollar and anything. You cannot sell oil for anything but the US dollar. You don't believe me? See what happened to Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi, okay? So now we've got the prophecy of Kim Clement, the brothers of Goliath, which are the BRICS nations. Stand in glee, we will cripple you. So they're about to attack the United States dollar. The United States dollar, mark my words, is very shortly about to lose its status as the world reserve currency. Other countries are not going, many other countries are not going to accept the dollar as payment. Period. So why did gold and silver become money? Because people still need to transact. Why did cryptocurrency ultimately? People are going to use them to transact across large distances because we're a worldwide people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that takes us to, so we've talked about the 24th, how the doomsday clock was so the 24th is page 22. A lot of crazy things have happened on the 24th, and the most recent is a doomsday clock. So that was, another wild event for the 24th. And so now we've got an active war, page 23. We've got the Kremlin selling oil for rubles. I'm telling you, this is an active war.
Yep.
And then Saudi Arabia now just announced on January 17th that they will accept payment for oil in other currencies. This is an act of war. Expect military conflict. Now, this is what I want to get across to the viewers. Very important, page 24. Okay. Page 24 specifically talks about Matthew 24. And what does it say? Be not deceived.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to understand that Satan is pinned up, these evil ones, these that are going to have come against God. These are crazy, they're alpha predators, okay? They are now pinned up against a corner, in a corner, and they're not going to go down without a fight. So I'm telling you, do not be surprised that they pull the nuclear card. And we talked about 322. So I'm telling you that potentially could be a very important time point where they could be saying these things. But again, if you go back, and this gives you the comfort of understanding time. If you click to page 5, okay, you understand we're not in the tribulation. Okay, the tribulation, based on my calculations, does not start until 2030. So we're only at third seal. Then we get immense blessings. We get the glory for the next 3.5 years on this earth. We're going to have hundreds of empty seats in Congress that get filled by we the people. The United States will be a beacon of light for the world. All of this is yet to happen and about to start like now. It's about to go down.
Mhm.
And so then the third and the fourth seal later manifests, and that's, later on, potentially somewhere in the 27th to maybe 2027 through probably closer to 2030 time window. So we're not in the great tribulation. So do not be deceived, going back to page 24, that we are at the nuclear war and Christ is about to return to stop a nuclear war. You must understand the times and the seasons. And this is not the time for the third world war. Satan is a great liar. He's a
Mhm.
deceiver. And anything that comes out of his mouth is nothing but a complete lie, because the end, as Matthew states, is not yet. So next page, expect everything to go dark. Okay, where when Lazarus died, everybody was mourning. The United States must die. It's going to look horrible. It's going to look really ugly. And I believe the really ugly is going to happen in March. March, it could be really ugly. It could be February, but could March, maybe early April. But it's going to look really ugly. Everything's going to go black, and people are going to be freaking out. It's going to look horrible. But remember, what is baptism? It's a death to what? Life.
Yep.
Okay. So the
Mhm.
United States is about to be reborn in God, in God, in God, in God, in Jesus Christ. The United States is about to be reborn. I believe immense celebrations on page 26. I believe immense celebrations are going to come honor about Pentecost. Why? Because the latter rain that was birthed on Pentecost in the year 2020, the latter rain, this May 28th, is 3 years old. We can talk, we can walk, we can do a lot of awesome things. And so, what have the prophets stated? That there's going to be immense revival beginning.
Mhm.
Woo!
Well, why? Because the bride is now 3 years old. The bride can walk, the bride can communicate. At 3 years old, children are now beginning to be capable of doing things. And so now the latter rain is turning 3 years old. Look for immense revival coming across the world. Stadiums packed. So page 27, stadiums will be packed with people literally being told of stories of the prior event of eye vision coming back, legs growing back. You want to talk revival? When Jesus Christ, back to glory, when he was on this earth for 3.5 years, everywhere he went, crowds formed. Why? Because they wanted a piece of the
Right.
glory.
Amen.
They wanted a piece of the glory. We're about to see the Haman effect for the next 3.5 years. It's going to be incredible, because the latter rain will be greater
Mhm.
than the former rain. So all of this is out ahead. Trump 45 does return. I believe if he's going to come back, you've got to have the collapse first. So I believe my best guess, May into June. So crazy's going on February, March, freak out sessions, crazy stuff's going down.
Mhm.
April, angel of death, and I believe my best guess will be May, June return. Why? Because he's got to come back and rebuild what God destroyed.
Wow.
God's going to destroy the financial system, Babylon. He's going to take it down. And then again, we need to transact. We need to buy things. We're a nation
Mhm.
we purchase things. So we need to buy food and these essentials. So someone's got to come back and rebuild. This horrible thing that just went down, the collapse of the financial system that we grew up with, is
Mhm.
about to happen. Third seal of Revelation will manifest on a feast. The third seals of the manifest on a feast. And then page 29, harvest, this is harvest, this is harvest, this is harvest. What a man soweth, thus shall he reap. God will not be deceived. God will not be mocked. For whatever a man soweth, thus shall he reap. So this is harvest season. For some, it will be great, and for others, utter and complete
Mhm.
hell. So there's more that we can go through, but basically, all of this is pointing to immense changes starting now. Lastly, I think you'll like this, and then we can end it here. But page 30, this is the other revelation I just received. And this is a part of a Kim Clement prophecy. And it stated, we are the generation that will defy death. I think you
Man.
will really appreciate this. Okay. So this is
Okay.
the revelation I received from God. Okay. So in 1967, because it's really interesting how this went down, because page 31, the Arabs refused to recognize Israel's independence after what happened in the war of let's see, after the Arab-Israel War of 1948-49, the Arab nation refused to recognize Israel as independent. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
So the world thinks that that Israel became independent in 1948-49, but that's not the truth, because the Arab nation refused to recognize them. It wasn't until the 6-Day War. They fought for 6 days, and the 7th day they rested. It was over. And after
Man.
the 6-Day War, Israel was officially born. So
Wow.
what is a genocide? So if you go back to page 30, how incredible is this, right? So page 30 shows a generation. If you read Psalm 90, verse 10, the years of our lives are 70. A generation is 70. So from 1967, 70 years forward is 2037, lining up perfectly with the timelines portrayed by Robin Bullock and Kent Christmas.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all of this is pointing to immense shifting. The nation of Israel, this generation. Actually, I was born in 1967, so
I
I
was
think
like,
it's pretty
wow,
cool.
that's pretty
Yeah, how
cool.
cool is that? So the point is, right, how incredible is all of this coming to being? God wrote the end from the beginning. He's showing me pieces to show the world. And so to me, this blows my mind when I do the research and I come to discover more and more pieces when, like,
Right.
everyone thought that Israel was born in 1948, but it wasn't, because they weren't recognized as independent. When the umbilical cord is cut, they're independent. So it wasn't until
Right.
after the 6-Day War, when the umbilical cord was cut and Israel was officially independent.
And
So we
can't-
live in biblical times.
Yeah. And you
Wow.
can't
No
deny the
kidding.
events that are happening. Like there's no reason, in the natural that Netanyahu should be back in power in Israel,
Right.
but he is.
Mhm.
Yes.
When you up until just recently, if Argentina was selling oil to Italy, it was done in the U.S. dollar. Every trade, everything that happened in oil was done in the dollar. Now they're on the stands at Davos saying, the Saudi nations, we're done with the dollar. We'll take trades in any currency outside of that. So it's like they said, well, we'll still do business with the U.S. in the U.S. dollar, but we'll take any dollars. We're creating they're saying they're taking allegiance with China. They'll take their money. With Russia, they'll take their money. So these things are all happening, and it's right underneath of our feet in this moment. So I'm encouraged
So
by
what
this.
you just said. So what does that create? See, because if Saudi Arabia only accepts payment in the dollar, right? That means a demand across the world for the dollar. So that would cause demand. So things that are demand prices go up, right? So that's how you support the price of the dollar. Now, if you're accepting payment for the oil in other currencies, including the dollar, but all currencies as an example, right? Including gold, silver, and crypto, what happens is you create the opposite effect, because there's no more demand for the dollar.
It's not
Period.
artificially
And
propped
so
up.
what you get is a flood of US dollars, like the great flood of Noah. You get the great flood of dollars back to the United States, and thus is your collapse of Babylon.
Man,
Man,
so good.
Bo, thank you so much
Yep.
for
Again,
this.
everything that Bo covered today, you can just text 40509, text the word Bo. You can also go to gold2020forecast.com. Bo, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible.
You are the best.
Do your feet ache and throb in pain with every step you take every day of your life? Well, kiss those days goodbye with slippers from MyPillow.com. How about that flimsy, flat little excuse for a pillow that's nothing but 8 hours of disappointment, causing you pain in your neck every single night? You can wake up with nothing but butterflies and rainbows around your head with a MyPillow pillow. Those hardwood floors hurting your old bones? no more with a MyPillow dog bed. Are your towels worn thin, flimsy, more patchy than Joe Biden's memory? There's nothing better than absorbent towels from MyPillow.com. For all of these products and more, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code FLYOVER for up to 66% off.
Welcome to the MyPillow 2.0 commercial. Miss Makeup.
Well, you look good.
And action.
You're sleeping even better. We've got the best pillow ever. MyPillow 2.0.
It's a great name for a
Huh?
Good. Cut. We got it.
Welcome to the set of the MyPillow 2.0, the most amazing pillow in history. That new technology is still the MyPillow's patented fill, but now we have new technology we didn't have back when I invented MyPillow that's going to help you sleep. It's absolutely amazing, and you're the first ones that can check it out. Go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code on your screen, and we brought back the buy one, get one free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
You know what time it is. It's time for an economic update with Dr. Kirk Elliott. Yay!
Hey, how are you?
Great, good to see you.
You know, there's never been
so
a
good
cooler
to see
time
you.
to talk to somebody with 2 PhDs, and
True.
you know, we don't. Neither one of us. I don't know if neither one of us have a PhD.
No.
And so, it's kind of we're just gonna make it fun and kind of this rock star intro. But I always tell people, man, this is not your grandpa's PhD. You know, it's not the elbow patches in the pipe, or whatever, this kind of stuff. Like you're a cool dude that happens to also
Have 2 PhDs.
have 2 PhDs and be really smart. And we're thankful because we're in crazy times.
We are. I mean, no elbow patches, no pipe.
Nope.
I mean, if you're in California, there's crack pipes out there. I mean,
True.
seeing videos of what Newsom is doing right now, prostitutes everywhere,
Oh
literally
my gosh.
everywhere, all over the streets, and it's to protect women's safety. It's because if they get arrested, well, then their pimps are going to get mad and beat them up or worse, right? So they just say, okay, you can just be out there. We're not going to stop you from doing it because we don't want you to get hurt. It's like, what kind of world are we
Upside
living
down.
in?
It's just completely
backward.
crazy.
It's almost like this bizarro world where everything that's good is considered bad and everything that's bad is considered good.
So true.
Seriously, it's just wild right now. And then everything that we've been talking about for a year plus about the finances of people's hard-earned retirement assets eroding because of stupid government policy that we can't control, right? I mean, imagine that stuff in California, and it's like, what? I mean, but we've got equally insano type policies coming out of DC that affect our finances, that affect our retirement plans. The meetings that were held in Davos last week, not just American policies, but now global, pushing us down this road to destruction, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is where we are. And so I was talking to, Man in America, Seth Holhouse yesterday.
He's
And it's
such a
like,
great guy.
Oh, he is such a cool guy. And so he's very philosophical, right? In how he thinks and talks. And so I asked him, I said, Seth, what do you think with all of the research that you do going all the way back to Epic Times when he was doing research for them, right? It's like, what do you think is where is America headed over the next 5 to 10 years? I said, because to me, it looks like we're going down this completely godless road, like post-Christian America, right? And he said, yes, we are. However, it's also the most godly time in America because it's like the left and the globalists and those people who want to strip away all of our freedoms and all of our privacy have gone too far. Yep. And now there's this pullback and there's this rush to God. And so he said, you're seeing both sides of this equation, right? You're
Yeah.
seeing
So
the
true.
complete godlessness, but yet you're seeing God act and move in our lives more than he ever has. And it's like, that is so true. And this is why we can have hope, because when you see that, when you know that God is working and acting on our lives and in us and on us and through us, you can't have a bad result from that, right? So,
Amen.
so we're living in these times, and we should just be.
There's Seth Olhouse
There's
right
Seth
there.
right there. That beard is real,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, I tested it.
Yeah, I see that you're testing it.
Yeah.
And Kirk, people, somebody grows up in the home of an alcoholic usually doesn't have a neutral opinion on alcohol.
Right.
They sometimes they either also turn to alcohol, or they swing this other way and like nothing to do with it and have this other extreme response. But they're never usually like, I never thought about it.
Right.
And that's our world right now. When you see these kind of things, when you see the viral clips went around this past week of family friendly drag queen story stuff and the things that they're saying in front of these kids, you see that and you think, oh my gosh,
that is just evil.
That's you don't need a Bible verse or anything to know that that's evil. That's just messed up. And so people see that and they kind of are swinging back the other way, but less people are living in the middle.
Yeah.
And they're either over here, or saying, man, we've got to clean up, our streets. We need to clean up our act. We need to do it personally, and we need the government to do it as well. And they're going to swing back the other way. And I think that does polarize people to one side or the other. And I think more people are going to kind of swing back this way over here.
Well, I think that's absolutely going to be the case. And, even what we've been talking about a lot lately financially about the central bank digital currency.
Yep.
When it hits, you're going to have so much pushback from it. Kind of like what we've talked about, the evangelicals and Catholics are going to think it's the mark of the beast. And they're going to say, we're not going to play. And, and libertarians are going to say, this is complete ultimate loss of freedom and privacy. Yeah. We're not going to play. And I joke about it here in Colorado, a dispensary on every other corner, right? It's like, man, pot capital of the world. But those people are used to buying pot with cash. Right. They won't be able to anymore. Yeah. It's not going to be private. Even they're going to be ticked, right? So so it's almost like Pelosi's stupid saying of, well, you got to pass it if we want to know what's in it, right? So you're going to get this, and there's going to be immediate pushback, and people are going to want something alternative to actually thrive in and not have this juggernaut of globalism coming down the path, knocking us over, putting us in a chokehold, and saying, look, all your privacy, all your freedoms are gone, because that's what they want.
Yep.
The best way to control a people is to control what they spend their money on, right?
And they're making They're making it more comfortable for people to not have cash. We were at the Boat and Travel Show this weekend, Overland Park Convention Center, and they had like 500 exhibits. It's a big show. And zero cash. We were cashless.
No cash.
No, not a vendor, not a concession stand, not to pay to get in. It's like $14 a person to get in. There's no cash in the building. And then these signs up everywhere says, we are cashless, Overland Park Convention Center. And that wasn't just for that event. That's the Overland Park Convention Center, here in Kansas City, is a cashless entity.
Man.
And so they kind of make it where it's kind of where it's like taking checks. When we grew up, everybody, checks were a big thing.
Yep.
And now you see everywhere, like no checks accepted. And it kind of it's kind of worked its way out as a form of payment, writing a check. And they're kind of doing that same with cash, where it just kind of becomes in your mind like, it's just not something we use anymore.
Well, yeah,
but
you can go to the airport.
Yeah,
you can't do it like you can't. We could. Let's see, at the Kansas City airport, we couldn't pay the Sky Cap with cash. It's no cash. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting.
Well, and it's getting even worse because if the number of ATMs in America is shrinking, getting people away from using credit cards. Why? It's like, that's cash. So wouldn't they want to push it? No, because central bank digital currency is going to take over all of that, right? And so even last week, Bank of America and Chase decided to kind of go together and build their big bank's first digital wallet. So they want to rival Apple Pay, right? So we're used to app-based money with Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay, things like that, right? So, but you've never had a bank that's had an app-based money, right? So they're going together. But here's the thing. It's in preparation for central bank digital currency, getting people used to app-based money, because now you've got two of the largest banks in America, JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America, that are getting people used to it. It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, right?
Yep.
Because if you tried to eat it all at once, well, you'd choke and die. Well,
Mhm.
same thing with central bank digital currency. It's too much of a stretch for humans to actually grasp what that all means. And so get them used to it incrementally, right? So
Mhm.
these things are happening right underneath our nose right now. And when FTX went down, we and Sam Bankman-Fried and all this, and we
Mhm.
talked about how this is almost a prophetic statement that we were making. We didn't know it at the
Yep.
time, but it's like they are going to demonize decentralized cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Dogecoin and
Mhm.
all these things, because they want everybody that's used to that to say, what? We want centralized cryptocurrency that's going to be regulated and managed and have oversight and rules and regulate all that stuff, right? So what are they doing? And so this article it's basically, we're going to talk about the IRS today. It's one of
Mhm.
people's favorite groups in the whole
Yeah,
world,
exactly.
right? So in Epoch Times, there's this article about the IRS, how they're alerting taxpayers that they must answer a new question on tax forms or for the 2023 tax year, or face consequences. Well, this isn't a simple question that they're asking. It's like a multiple part, 20-part question, right? So you basically have to answer yes, check the yes box if you've received digital assets as payment for property or services provided. When they use the word digital assets, they're talking about cryptocurrency. This is what they're talking about.
Okay.
NFTs, stable coins, non-fungible tokens, cryptocurrencies. This is what they're talking about when they say digital assets. Have you transferred digital assets for free without receiving any consideration as a bona fide gift? Have you received digital assets resulting from a reward or award? Have you received new digital assets resulting from mining, staking, and similar activities? Have you received digital assets resulting from a hard fork, which is a branching of a cryptocurrency's blockchain that splits a single cryptocurrency into two, kind of like a stock split? Have
Mhm.
you disposed of digital assets in exchange for property or services? Look at all these dumb questions
Oh,
that they're asking. What
man.
are they trying to do? They're trying to get people to say, what? We don't want cryptocurrency. It used to be unregulated. We used to get by with just transferring money back and forth in this crypto world. Now, if you don't answer all of these questions, you're in big trouble. So what they're doing is they're going to make people say, we don't want decentralized cryptocurrency. We don't want this stuff. If we have to report all this stuff, if we have to go through all these hoops and keep all these receipts and do
Mhm.
all this stuff and blah blah blah, and they actually now started even taxing private payments from Venmo to
Right.
family members, right? I mean, if it's above a certain amount, and it's like, man, they're going after digital assets like crazy. Here's the thing. Almost a guarantee. In a world where there's no guarantees, this would be almost my guarantee. Because that last statement where they're going to start demonizing cryptocurrency was a prophetic one, right? I think
Mhm.
this one is too. They're going to make it really easy to conduct business with their central bank digital currency, their centralized cryptocurrency, because that's what they want. So they're making all this stuff hard, cumbersome, horrible. Nobody wants to do it, but yet they're going to probably make theirs super easy. It's like, look, just deal in ours. You don't have to deal with all these things and answer yes on this thing, because we're going to know everything about you anyways, but it's going to be
Absolutely.
real easy. In fact,
Convenience.
if you want to go to Whole Foods and buy something, all you have to do is walk in and walk out. Why? Because you don't even, there's a couple cities right now that are already testing this. You don't even have to scan your QR code. Right? If you can get an implantable chip, like what we've talked about, in your hand,
Mhm.
that'll act as your wallet. It's geo-fenced location, so it knows who you are, right? Because these other places now, they have facial recognition. Well, it's going to be different. You don't even have to have that. So it's going to be secret, right? It's going to be
Mhm.
not even knowing, not even seeing these cameras out there around you. It's going to be, if it's not there and you don't see it, well, maybe it doesn't exist, kind of a feeling. So you just walk in with your microchip in your hand,
Don't
pick
do
up all
it.
the products that you want that have an RFID chip in the product, and you just walk out. It's like, what? It's almost like it was free. Well, until you get the bill, but you're not going to get a bill. It's just going to be a debit or a credit from your central bank digital currency. But this is the messaging that they're going to give everybody. This is easy. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to report all this stuff on your tax return because we already know about it. Right. And so this is how they're going to trick people and entice them like this siren song into their system. But they're right now on the new tax form for 2023, they're demonizing decentralized cryptocurrency like it's a pariah, and nobody's going to want it. Tell you, nobody's going to want to do this. Yep. What we don't know is what the consequences for noncompliance. If you did any of those and you didn't check the yes box, we don't know what the penalties are, but I bet they're going to be kind of extreme.
Right.
Or
an audit.
An audit, right?
Yep.
So maybe that's why the Democrats wanted 87,000 IRS agents to be there, right? I mean,
armed.
Who knows?
And the thing is, you don't need a whole lot of them, though, when everything is digital and they're tracking every single transaction between you and you buy some eggs from a farmer. It's like they know every dollar that happens everywhere because there is no cash. Now, what's the workaround that with having a private asset like gold and silver? That's one of your things you specialize in. Yeah. How does that help you work around it?
Well, it's a private transaction. You take delivery of it, right? This is why central bank digital currency is the equivalent of fiat-based money, paper money, except a digital version, which makes it trackable. They want to get rid of the paper money. So they want to get rid of anything that's not trackable, but gold and silver are still, it's private. You take delivery of it. If it's small enough, like a 1 ounce round of silver, you can use it for barter. You can go to probably when this time comes and you're going to have all of those 3 people groups that we talked about earlier say, we don't want to play this game. If they're store owners, we're not going to participate in this. So you could use silver to barter with, to go to a small local grocery store and where you might know the owner and say, hey, you want silver for the eggs, right?
Right.
Or you could go to the farmer, the rancher for vegetables or beef or whatever, right? So you can start, that's one way that you can actually accomplish this. And it's a real easy way, right? Because silver is uniform in size. It has a value. People know what it is. Other things you can barter with too, right? I mean, anything that has value to somebody else, you can barter with. If you had bullets, if you had vodka, if you had cigarettes, if you had toilet paper, if you had video games, I mean, literally anything can be used to trade with somebody if it's something that they want and they have something that you want, right? So, but this just makes it really easy because it is a legitimate bona fide currency, right? It has value and it's small and it's portable and we know what it is. So that's how, David, that you can actually kind of accomplish that. But when this happens, the pushback that you're going to see is numerous economic systems paralleling each other all at the same time. And so what we can't control is that this is going to happen. We are going to have central bank digital currency.
Right.
Now, how long it lasts is up to us, right? Because when there's other systems, it's like, well, maybe what about quantum financial system? What about just a gold-backed dollar? What about barter type silver? Or what about the central bank digital currency? Now, once it's there, people are going to have an option. And based on their feet, based on their actions, based on what they do, it's kind of like voting or not voting, right? It's like, what are people going to want? Ultimately, that's probably what's going to win this out. So when CBDCs hit the ground running, which is probably going to be within the next few months, and it's going to be this phased rollout, over years probably, people are going to have an option to either speak up or not, to use it or not, right? So what lasts is going to be up to us. And so, but if you don't even want to play that game, you get silver. Use it for barter. It's a great way to thrive. I'm not only talking about here saving our freedoms, political, economic, religious, health, social freedom, all of those. It's simply a great investment. I saw that Colton had the chart up there for a bit. I mean, silver is booming. I mean, when you look at the chart of where it's gone and where it's going, I mean, look at that. It's
unbelievable.
Because everybody I know, we were with a doctor recently and he's like, getting everything that he possibly can out of that matrix kind of like system and into gold and silver. And that's kind of what people are all doing. Because, this, say today, you could trade $25 for it. But what does this become worth when that is shut off? All of a sudden it becomes worth much, much more because it's outside of that system. It's outside the building. It's not a part of their corrupt system. And that is, if you put this in a box and come back 500 years from now, this is going to have value. It's a thing. And so, that transcends governments and what they do, going back to Bible times, an ounce of silver,
it's God's money.
always had value. And when like I got this from your company, but it's uniformed and it's based on the weight. It's not based on a collectible story. This didn't come from a shipwreck or anything else. It actually is based on, no matter what you weigh this, it's an ounce. It's always going to have a value.
Well, and we're going to need it. And I'm sorry I didn't actually say that I wanted this on the screen, but Colton, can you actually pull up usdebtclock.org and put it on the screen? Because I have to show everybody something that just happened. So there's a ratio, we're not even a ratio, but in value, how much should gold and silver be valued at, right? And gold used to be like at 25,000, silver used to be at like $500 or something like that. Look at it now. It's on the bottom right corner of this screen. It's zero. So it's like, how did that happen? So go down just a little bit. See, there are dollars to silver, 0 per ounce, dollars to gold, 0 per ounce. So what does that mean? When it first came out, I thought it was a glitch.
Yeah.
But it's not, because the way that they measure it is the M2 money supply, which is money that's in circulation, checking, savings, money market funds, divided by the number of ounces of silver or gold that are mined that year, right? So here's the thing. The M2 money supply is shrinking. So the amount in circulation is going away. Here's what I think is happening. They're pulling money out of the system and people's checking, savings accounts, money markets, in preparation for a digital currency, because it's now shrinking. But it's like, Kirk, you've been saying for a long time that the government keeps printing money and printing money to get out of inflation. That's true. However, that's not making it to the public. They're printing money to, provide stimulus and raise the debt ceiling and everything else, but it's not making it to the public. If it would, the economy would be stimulated because there would be money to people to buy. But they're actually taking money out of checking accounts, savings accounts, money markets. M2 money supply is shrinking. So now it's zero, right? So what this tells me is they're pulling paper money out, getting people ready, probably, this is my theory, for central bank digital currency, because there's no way that those numbers could go from 20-something thousand for gold, $500-something an ounce for silver, to zero in a week, unless they're pulling a bunch of money out of the system, and now it's below the number of ounces that are. I mean, this is mind-numbingly weird, and it just adds fuel to the fire of why we need to protect, because it looks like they're going full speed ahead towards central bank digital currency when the M2 money supply shrinks that much.
Fast.
Yeah. Okay. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh, this sounds really scary, the initial reaction a lot of times is to do nothing. It's just to freeze, or go to bed and pull covers over your head and, just hope this will go away. That is not what you want to do right now. You want to take action. You want to get a hold of Dr. Kirk's team. You can go to flyovergold.com, scroll down to the bottom. There's a place you can fill out your information. Fill that out. Someone from Dr. Kirk's team will get a hold of you. They're going to set up a time to talk, to get your questions answered. It's absolutely free. It's a free consultation. You can also call 720-605-3900. Take action. Do it today. Don't wait. Don't be in fear. Don't go put the covers over your head and thinking, I hope it'll go away. This is the time to take action. It's not going anywhere, but we have an answer for you, and Dr. Kirk is there to help. So Dr. Kirk, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Are you having a hard time sleeping at night, thinking, what are you going to do about your finances?
If you went back to 1920 and you had a $20 bill and you had 1 ounce of gold, you could go into a men's clothing store and you could buy an entire suit, the jacket, shoes, pants, belt, everything. Today, what would that $20 bill buy you? You couldn't buy a handkerchief for the $20 bill, but that 1 ounce of gold would still buy you, even today, it would buy you an entire men's suit, shoes, belt, pants, jacket, everything. That's the difference. But today, that change is happening faster than ever.
And we know a guy by the name of Dr. Kirk Elliott that we've known for over 25 years. He has 2 PhDs.
This is who we're actually using. This is who our friends and family are using. And he's a guy we trust completely. And in today's era, you need somebody you trust. So go to flyovergold.com and learn how to protect yourself against an inflating dollar.
For more great content, go to flyoverconservatives.com.